Hey, what's up? This is Adobe Acrobat here. Denim. Old news, right? A while ago I made a video about there being plenty of cool alternatives to denim which might look more interesting, be more comfortable, or have some kind of better performance depending on where you find yourself. And people should definitely consider broadening their horizons. That's not to say that denim has absolutely nothing going for it. It is, for example, fairly hard wearing as a material, which really spurred its rise to popularity as a workwear material. But in many ways I portray denim as bad compared to glorious technical fabrics. Either way, many people will probably tell you that techwear and jeans, or denim generally, shouldn't be mentioned in the same breath, to the point that if somebody did mention techwear jeans, you would assume it would be some kind of joke. But is it? Can jeans be techwear? You can certainly get jeans with a load of pockets on them, and pockets are pretty techwear. And what about wallet chains? That's some top level functionality right there. Joking aside, non-standard jeans certainly do exist. Just look at how common it is for fast fashion jeans to use cotton elastane blends to make them more comfortable than a typical all denim jean. But when highly reputable technical clothing brand Veilance release a couple of denim based items, you know they're going to be a more technical iteration of that. I happened to pick up a pair of the Cambre jeans in drab earlier this year on sale at Blue Button Shop. They were 50% off, which brought them down to about £140, approximately $180. I consider that to be a pretty decent price to do a bit of wardrobe experimentation with. Veilance and denim might seem like a little bit of a contradiction, so we'll talk about what makes these interesting, how far you might describe them as a techwear jean, and are they something that you should consider buying? Let's go. The first thing that struck me when I got these out of the box is how stiff the Cambre is. If you're familiar with raw denim, far from the elastane blended fast fashion stuff, the material can be fairly rigid, especially in higher fabric weights. Feeling them in hand, I thought, good lord, these are going to be uncomfortable compared to the dry skin or stots or all those other materials that I'm pretty used to wearing by now. It's not exactly synonymous with highly functional technical pants. I forgot to turn my fun blue light on. One sec, we'll fix that. Much better. Despite the rigidity, the fabric weight is surprisingly light, and that's because of the material upgrades that Veilance have made here. Of course, it's Veilance, you're not going to expect standard issue denim. What they've done is woven the typical denim fibers in with hollow core nylon. That not only, of course, reduces the fabric weight, but gives it some other interesting characteristics too. Like with a technical pant, those fibers improve moisture wicking and temperature regulation, but because they're on the inside and it's the cotton denim on the outside, you're still benefiting from that signature fabric strength. And looking up close, the denim texture is plain to see. You really get a sense of the woven fibers, particularly because the nylon is white, similar to the weft of conventional denim. You'll also see slight variations and imperfections that further add to this, resulting in something with far more depth than a single coloured technical pant. And although I haven't worn these enough yet, like any good pair of denim jeans, these will fade and develop new characteristics with the wearer over time, depending on how they're used. The look given by the material we'll return to later, because it's definitely key to the overall appeal of these. But for now, we're going to get these on because it was on wearing them that I really started to understand what Veilance were going for here. Remember when I assumed that these would be ridiculously uncomfortable? When I put these on, it instantly changed that assumption for two significant reasons. Firstly, you'll notice that Veilance have used a similar articulation to in their technical pants on these jeans, which means that despite that kind of stiff, crunchy fabric, you'll actually find these surprisingly maneuverable. You've got articulation in the knees, and you've got a gusset as well over the crotch that helps assist with movement in a really tangible way. They work better than a typical pair of raw denim jeans, far better in that respect. They're not something that you have to break in or whatever. You can just stick them on and immediately get the benefit of that maneuverability. Remember those hollow core fibers as well being on the inside of the fabric rather than the outside. Yes, that means that on the outside you've got that structure and the performance of denim, but on the inside it also makes these a little bit softer and more comfortable against the skin versus denim. We then have this interesting dichotomy of something that looks far more structured and textured than a technical pant, far more akin to traditional denim, but doesn't move like traditional denim at all. Now, I'm not going to pretend these are on par with dry skin or some of those other fabrics I commonly wear in terms of overall comfort, but nonetheless, I was definitely pleasantly surprised by the updates that Veilance have made to a classic jean in order to make them feel more comfortable and move better. Yes, a performance-based upgrade to a pair of jeans. That certainly makes them interesting, and that's really the key reason why I wanted to pick them up and have a look at them for myself. But as we've said so many times on the channel, performance is only half of the story. We certainly can't ignore how things look. There are no extra pockets on these, hidden or otherwise, but the classic 4-pocket array is updated with these ultra sharp lines rather than a more traditional curve, giving these a light futuristic touch, and again, similarity to their other pants like the Voronoi or the Align. They're all fairly deep and shaped so the contents stay put when you're sitting down, so they do as much as we can expect from this type of pocket. Also have a look at the belt loops for more evidence of technical updates to a classic design. They're quite slim, they have the same kind of look that you'd expect to find on other technical Veilance pants, using a contrasting material as opposed to denim all over. It definitely makes them feel a little bit sharper than your average jean. This in fact extends to the seams of all their jeans. Again, borrowed straight from all these other technical pant designs from Veilance, and it means that they've done away with the traditional stitching of denim, giving you these real clean-cut lines down the pant. These are by no means waterproof pants. They will wet out if you get caught in heavy rain, but it's just going to give you that extra little bit of protection whilst providing that aesthetic benefit that keeps them more aligned with the rest of the Veilance pant lineup. The material structure and sharp lines throughout make these feel very put together for a pair of jeans, a little bit more formal and with that element of the futuristic as well. All characteristics we might associate with Techwear. The fit has some relationship with what we might expect from Techwear pant as well. They have a little bit of room in the thigh, but tapering down towards the leg opening. Not too constricting though. What differs is these are long enough to build up those solid kind of crunchy stacks that you would only really get with a material this structured, and is definitely key to their aesthetic appeal. That does mean they're quite long relative to an average pant, so they'll probably suit taller people better, although of course you could always cuff these if you want to, or take them to a tailor if you're willing to chop off the bottom part of these. You'll probably notice a bit of space at the knee. It's really down the shin and beyond where you'll notice that taper start to come in. That was probably because, like the articulation, having that bit of extra space there does help keep the knee nice and maneuverable. While some people might prefer a skinnier look overall, I'm prepared to overlook that personally. I don't think it's a problem. I don't necessarily think all pants need to be super skinny, especially when it comes to denim. Like, ultra skinny jeans are not really in vogue anymore. And let's not forget, a bit of space certainly makes them feel more comfortable. What I'm not quite so quick to forgive is the large amount of space at the back of these. Now admittedly, I'm not exactly packing Pixar mum dump truck, but there is really a lot of space at the seat, and I dare say that a lot of people are going to struggle to fill these out. They just don't look particularly flattering here. I wonder if, like with many other elements of these pants, this was done to facilitate maneuverability and stop them getting too kind of tight over the back here, but I feel like maybe they went a little bit too far with these. A note on this though, these ones are from SS20 I think, which was the first release, partly why they were on sale I'm sure, but more recent versions, the FW21 ones, have a updated silhouette, so apparently they have reduced that amount of space in the seat there, so you may well find newer versions have a slightly more flattering fit. A welcome upgrade as far as I'm concerned. I feel the waist is actually a little large on these as well. I have a pair of Voronoi in the same size, and these definitely feel noticeably bigger, maybe even as much as an inch. I certainly could have gone 1 inch down on these, and yeah, would have found them totally fine. Of course, I'm wearing a belt, that keeps them up just fine, but it's certainly worth bearing in mind when you're thinking about picking your correct sizing. If you're in between sizes, for example, I would certainly go down rather than up. Another thing on looks, the colour I think on these is fantastic. So I went for the drab version. I think they actually have a little bit of a green tint to them, which makes them look super unique. Combined with the material and the cut, yes, of course, they look like a pair of jeans, but I think they look like a very distinctive pair of jeans, to the point that even someone that doesn't have an active interest in fashion could probably look at something like this and kind of notice that they look different or interesting in some way, even if they can't necessarily put their finger on exactly why. And it's partly because they're rooted in convention, being a pair of denim jeans, but updated in quite a few significant ways, to the point that the overall look is not 100% consistent with what you'd expect from jeans. and that's particularly true of the drab colour as opposed to black. They're probably as technical as a pair of jeans could be without starting to go down the ultra dystopian reconstructed stuff. We've seen some really interesting things come out recently from brands like Hamkus, which I feel like I keep mentioning in loads of videos at the moment. Gorilla Group as well did some really cool reconstructed like nylon and denim things, which were super interesting. I also think they're very true to the Veilance aesthetic and overall ethos. They're smart, they're futuristic, they're quietly performance focused without necessarily shouting about it, and they communicate a lot of what the brand and what the products are about through clean lines and through construction rather than branding. How do you style something like this? Honestly, that split between conventional aesthetic and technical upgrades puts them in a little bit of an unusual spot. Yes, they are kind of clean looking for jeans, they're kind of smart, they're kind of futuristic, but they don't quite fit with a sort of ultra modern, highly technical product. You know, I wouldn't go wearing these with the J1, for example. But at the same time, that unusual look, I think, demands a little bit more than graphic tee and a pair of Vans that you would certainly get away with a regular pair of jeans. What I think does work is slightly smarter technical apparel, which really plays off these being a futuristic and slightly more structured take on a classic. You can be outdoors with the look of denim, but a little bit of the performance and the versatility of a typical Arc'teryx pant. I've also deferred to a few helpful members of the Veilance Discord for inspiration here, so I will chuck some of these up on the screen for your viewing pleasure. Shout out to Alga and Catalystis for sharing those, and Last Perfect Circle, Lucky Itos, and The Reigning Chum for outfit picks. I think the interesting thing these guys are doing here is using other pieces that have some texture, because that is the real unique defining feature about a technical pant like this versus basically anything else, certainly in the Veilance lineup and from all kinds of other brands as well. Definitely don't shy away from that, even though it has that kind of heritage look about it. Make it a key feature of an outfit. And that leads to looks which sit somewhere between classic menswear and minimalist streetwear and conventional techwear. So taking all these things into account, are jeans techwear? Well, as we saw, I think these have the potential to be worn with reference to their technical characteristics, and worn alongside other Veilance pieces and other outdoor-focused technical brands. I also think these are a more futuristic and a more performance-focused version of a jean, which absolutely stays true to the Veilance aesthetic. What Veilance aimed to do with these, I think for the most part, they executed very well. All of those updates and those changes are done for a reason, both aesthetically and from a performance perspective, and I think all of those work. In a way, they might not look like a typical techwear product, but they're doing a better job of being technical than your sweaty drop-shipped joggers with pockets and straps all over them. That said, I don't think these are proving everyone wrong, like, oh, turns out jeans are the ultimate techwear pant after all. No, I don't think they're doing any of that stuff. And in fact, for a lot of people who are going to be interested in techwear as an aesthetic, the Cambres are probably not really going to appeal, but there is definitely a certain subsection of person where this blend between the classic and the futuristic is going to be right up their street. Personally, I only bought these at a pretty chunky discount because I was very curious to see from a material perspective kind of what these were like and how they would compare to both other Veilance pants and other pants generally that I own. I'm very happy that I satisfied that curiosity, don't get me wrong. I think these are a really unique piece in my wardrobe and give me more experience with different materials and how stuff looks and how stuff feels. Things like that I always value. But I don't think they're the right thing for me and my wardrobe personally. I don't feel like these go with a lot of the other things that I wear, and just in terms of how I often present myself, these are kind of different to that. And yes, the fit wasn't quite on point for me. Tightened up at the back, I would definitely like these more, but there is certainly a lot to like about the Cambres. And I could see people who are heavy into the Veilance aesthetic, or those more classic menswear looks generally, could definitely get something good out of these. And I could really see them appealing to people who, yeah, they really like that kind of classic, more tailored, more structured menswear look, but then want to try out something that's a little bit more technical without having to turn their back on all of those things that they already own. These are certainly not the kind of pants where you really have to wear loads of other technical garments or like your dystopian ninja gear in order to make them work. They are just so different from that. And yeah, it's definitely going to appeal to people for that reason. But if you do want to go more down that ultra technical, utilitarian, urban kind of look, are these the pants for you? No, probably not. It's a niche pant for sure, but I really think it gives people an option that didn't really exist in this kind of form before, and for that reason, I'm definitely glad it exists. Thanks for checking out this little journey into the world of technical denim. If you've got any experience with these pants, or some of the other Veilance denim stuff, because they have jackets as well, then definitely add your thoughts down there in the comments. That would be super helpful for anyone else interested in checking these out. And yeah, keen to hear your thoughts as well on this kind of idea of updating classic or more heritage style with those kinds of performance elements. I definitely think there's going to be people out there, maybe you're one of them, for who that kind of idea and that style really does appeal. And of course, if you enjoyed the video, please do give it a like. It is massively helpful. I really appreciate the support on recent videos. And yeah, again, thanks for watching. We'll see you next week with another video. Thanks so much for your support on the J16 video. Often the acronym reviews have more niche appeal, but I really enjoy doing them, so I certainly put a lot into that video, and really glad that you guys enjoyed it as a result of that. Shout out to Techie saying watching acronym reviews is like watching Let's Plays of games when your PC sucks. And shout out to Oliver Kennedy, definitely agree, those stretch panels I thought were great. Polartec Neo Shell, pretty cool fabric as well. We'll be doing some Polartec stuff coming up in the future as well, probably next month, I think. Thanks so much for making it all the way to the end of the video. If you want to catch some more, there's going to be links going up at the top. And if you haven't subscribed yet, then definitely consider doing so, because we are at an insane 90k, which means that 100k is actually not that far off, which is insane to me. Again, massive thanks for everyone's support. And yeah, we'll see you next week with another video.